On the high-speed train, I received a message from my ex-boyfriend. I have a new girlfriend now. To avoid misunderstandings, let's delete each other. Excuse me? Is this guy sick or something? The very next second, my roommate sent a message too. I'm with Jacob now. You don't mind, do you? Mind? Are you kidding me? I turned to the guy sitting next to me and handed him my phone. Hey, handsome, can you do me a favor? My phone buzzed again. I looked down, another message from Jacob. I have a new girlfriend now. To avoid misunderstandings, let's delete each other. Seriously, is this guy mentally okay? The next message followed right after, from my roommate. I'm with Jacob now. You don't mind, right? I stared at those texts for a solid 3 minutes. The silence was deafening. Susan was my roommate, and the root cause of my breakup with Jacob. She always claimed she was the guardian of our love, doing things for our own good, while constantly overstepping her boundaries. Back when Jacob was chasing me, Susan volunteered to be his wingwoman. She kept finding excuses to have him treat her to meals. When we argued, she'd spend the whole night chatting with him, saying it was to help resolve our conflict. Even the birthday gift Jacob gave me was picked out by her. She'd asked me in the dorm, Emily, do you like this necklace? I went shopping with Jacob yesterday and helped him choose it. You picked it? Yep. Jacob didn't know what to get you, so I helped. I've got good taste, right? You're really lucky to have a roommate like me. Oh, and we booked a table at Boom tonight to celebrate your birthday. Go get dressed up. I looked at Susan, who was busy doing her makeup. I tossed the gift box onto her desk. This necklace actually goes perfectly with your dress. Why don't you wear it tonight? Then I opened my phone and broke up with Jacob. Jacob. Are you serious? Why? Me, because love is between two people. If there are three, that's called a card game. The train's broadcast interrupted my thoughts. I glanced again at the two messages, back to back, from Susan and Jacob. Coincidence? I didn't buy it. I could totally picture them sitting together, conspiring, and then sending those messages to me one after the other. How could I just let this slide? After a moment of thought, an idea struck me. My gaze drifted toward the guy sitting next to me. He was wearing a black baseball cap pulled low over his face, headphones in, seemingly dozing or relaxing. Would it be rude to bother him right now? But given the choice between being impolite or swallowing my anger, I chose the former. I reached out and gently tapped his arm. Hi. Sorry to bother you. His cap slipped slightly, revealing a stunningly handsome face. Wow. That face landed right on my type. Instead of looking annoyed, he simply blinked at me with mild curiosity. Thick-skinned, I held out my phone. Hey handsome, can I ask you for a favor? He glanced at the screen, Jacob's message, and frowned. I thought he was going to refuse. But the next second, a knowing smile curved his lips. He took my phone, hit the voice message button, and casually said, Dude, who the hell are you? Then he looked up at me, smirking slightly. Is that how I should help? Yes, exactly. I nodded like crazy. This guy was amazing. I hadn't even explained what I wanted yet. Thank you. You're not just handsome, you're kind too. Ugh. Why did I just say something so honest out loud? The corners of his eyes crinkled with amusement. Suddenly, my phone began vibrating nonstop. We both looked down. A barrage of messages, all from the same person, Jacob. Emily, who's that guy? Did you break up with me because of him? Seriously? What's he talking about, eaten too many soybeans or something? Oh, he's freaking out, the guy beside me said, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Want to make him freak out even more? Huh? Before I could respond, he pressed down on the voice message button again. Oops, we've been caught. He let go, and the message was sent. This man knew exactly how to push buttons. The next second, Jacob called. I wasn't planning on picking up, but the guy beside me looked so curious, like he was ready to enjoy the drama. Fine. I'll indulge him. I hit answer. Emily. Who's the guy with you? Jacob demanded immediately. Oh, just your friendly high-speed train superhero. Of course, I didn't actually say that. But in front of this guy, I couldn't exactly call him my boyfriend either. Jacob, aren't you worried your new girlfriend will misunderstand you calling me? I asked deliberately. Jacob was clearly caught off guard. I only sent that message because... He didn't get to finish. Baby, I don't know if his new girlfriend will get jealous, said the guy beside me, suddenly leaning in close, warm breath brushing my fingers, but your current boyfriend definitely will. Of course I wasn't going to say that out loud. But sitting right beside this guy, I couldn't bring myself to say the words boyfriend either. So I turned the question around. Jacob, you're calling me like this, won't your new girlfriend get the wrong idea? I asked pointedly. He clearly choked on that. I only sent that message because... Before he could finish, he was cut off. Babe, I don't know whether his new girlfriend will misunderstand or not, but your current boyfriend is definitely getting jealous. The guy next to me suddenly leaned in, his breath warm against my hand. I knew it was all fake, but that one babe still sent a wave of heat rushing to my cheeks. F***ck. Jacob cursed furiously on the other end. Emily, you've really outdone yourself. Now I finally get why you dumped me. You better hope I never find out who that guy is, because if I do, I'll beat him up every time I see him. Then he hung up. Seriously, what the hell? The handsome stranger, mission complete, leaned back in his seat again. He said solemnly, you win. Your ex must be way more upset than you are now. No man can stand the idea of being cheated on, especially when he finds out after the breakup. You seem to know a lot about this, I said, raising an eyebrow. Speaking from personal experience? He paused. Then he turned to look at me, deadpan. Do I look like the kind of guy who'd go through that? His deep-set eyes, that perfectly defined nose, and those sharp, effortless facial features, yeah. That face wasn't made to suffer for love. It was made to make others suffer. Thank you, I said sincerely. If it weren't for this high-speed rail night, I wouldn't have had the chance to flip the script in front of Jacob. Just thinking about him and Susan being together made my skin crawl. But remembering how shaken he sounded just now? That helped. A lot. No need to thank me. Teaching scumbags a lesson is a civic duty, he said. What a noble sense of moral obligation. He had to be a college student. I asked cautiously, are you still in college? He nodded. Yeah. What university? Ching University. What a coincidence. Like, absurdly so. I lit up. We must have shoveled manure together in a past life, that's the only way to explain this kind of fate. He visibly paused. Classmate, he said slowly, whether you shoveled or not, I don't know. But I definitely didn't. He better believe I was joking. Susan and I returned to the dorm one after the other. As soon as she walked in, she made a beeline for me and leaned on my desk. Emily, why didn't you reply to my WeChat? I did reply, with silence. She tried again, carefully, you're not replying because you're upset Jacob and I are together, right? Honestly, I'd almost forgotten about that nonsense, until she brought it up again. Since she was so determined, I picked up my phone, opened our chat, and sent her a single one. There. I replied. Emily, what's that supposed to mean? I looked up at her. Didn't you ask me to reply? I did. And now you're still not happy. Angela, who was sitting nearby, let out a snort of laughter. What are you laughing at? Susan turned on her immediately. At you, Angela replied simply. Susan ignored her and went back to me. Emily, I was so worried when you didn't reply. I thought maybe you were mad at me. And honestly, if you were mad, I wouldn't blame you. Her voice started to soften. She sounded pitiful. That was always her move. Just like back then, when Jacob and I had a huge fight because she'd been chatting with him all night, she cried and apologized to me in the dorm. Emily, I just saw how upset you were these past few days because of your fights with Jacob. I only did it to help. I was really trying to make things better between you two. If you don't like me doing that, I won't do it again. Her eyes were swollen from crying. She was the one with zero boundaries, yet she made it seem like I was the unreasonable one, demanding and hard to please. Emily, I swear I'm telling the truth. If you don't believe me, I can show you the chat logs between me and Jacob. We were only ever talking about you two. Well, yes, technically they were talking about us. Jacob, Susan, if Emily were as gentle and understanding as you, we wouldn't be fighting all the time. She's always got this princess attitude, constantly getting angry. I'm really sick of it sometimes. Susan, don't say that about Emily. If she's mad, I'm sure there's a reason. You probably did something to upset her. And I'm not as great as you're making me out to be. Out of hundreds of pages of chat history, she just happened to show me those ones. I was even more pissed off after reading them. Of course I knew she'd done it on purpose. Just like she was doing now. You know? When Jacob first confessed to me, I was completely caught off guard. I turned him down right away. But, feelings aren't something you can control, you know? I mean, you guys had been broken up for months already. And Jacob kept insisting, over and over, that he didn't have feelings for you anymore. That's why I agreed. Jacob even said that the two of us should take you out for a meal one day to make up for it. Emily, when would you be free? How about never? Because I might not be able to stop myself from smashing a plate into both their faces. Honestly, I started wondering if I'd just been too nice before, so nice that she thought I was easy to walk over. I slammed my phone down on the desk, screen side down. Susan, I said coldly, I'm not a straw boat. Don't shoot your arrows at me. What? Are you done playing the victim yet? I asked, staring straight at her. Back when I was with Jacob, all your little games, I kept quiet. But maybe I was just giving you too much face. Now you think you're somebody, huh? Jacob dumped me and went for you. Does that make you feel special? Proud? What, you think something another girl threw away is some kind of treasure now? You're standing here, saying all this crap, aren't you just dying to see me sad and devastated, to satisfy that little twisted heart of yours? Sorry. I don't fake it as well as you do. I just can't. I hadn't expected myself to be that blunt. Susan's face turned the exact shade of raw liver in a wet market. Her voice trembled. Emily, that was really harsh. Good, I said, calm and steady. And for the record, that's not just today. If you don't like what I say, you're free not to listen. She stormed off, fuming. Finally, peace and quiet. Angela gave me a big thumbs up. Girl, you were savage today. Seriously, I've never seen you go that hard before. You used to just turn a blind eye to all her crap. I told her everything that had happened on the high-speed train, from start to finish. Angela smacked her thigh. No way. You're telling me you met a hot, heroic stranger on the train? Why does that never happen to me? That's the part you're focusing on? Her eyes lit up with curiosity. Wait, is he from our school? What's his name? I'm gonna search the campus forums. She whipped out her phone. Oliver. Computer science major. Her fingers flew across the screen. Found him. People are talking about him. Damn, he's gorgeous. She shoved her phone in my face. On the screen was a blown-up photo of Oliver mid-basketball throw, muscles flexing, arms taut. His lean waist visible beneath the red and white jersey, abs tight and defined, and Angela sighed dreamily. Girl. You are eating well. I replied dryly, haven't taken a bite yet. I opened his WeChat profile. Wow. His moments were even cleaner than his face. There was nothing, no photos, no captions, no clue about the guy. Unlike me, chaotic life, curated feed. Angela changed the subject. By the way, are you still going to the class president's birthday party tomorrow? Of course. Why wouldn't I? I just thought you might not want to see Susan and Jacob flaunting their relationship. They can flaunt. I'll be busy eating. I figured you'd be too grossed out to eat anything. I gave her a baffled look. They're just being lovey-dovey, not taking a dump in front of me. Why wouldn't I be able to eat? Angela blinked. Fair point. The next day, in the private room. Jacob, man, I gotta hand it to you. You managed to get the two hottest girls in our class. One on the left, one on the right. Yeah, Jacob, tell us honestly. Do you like the ex or the current more? Some people just get way too chatty after a couple drinks. I frowned. That question was rude as hell. Jacob didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked over at me, and then quickly glanced away when I caught his eyes. After a pause, he threw an arm around Susan and pulled her into his chest. Then he shot the question right back, what do you guys think? Susan blushed instantly, snuggling into his arms like a delicate little bird. Stop that, she murmured in mock embarrassment. Everyone's watching. Then she turned to me, putting on a show of generosity. Emily, don't be mad. I'll scold him for you. Mad? Who said I was mad? Could someone please just let me eat in peace? But nope, someone had to stir the pot. Emily, you don't look too happy. Don't tell me you're still hung up on brother Jacob? Nope, I said flatly. Come on. It's okay if you are. Totally understandable, really. Brother Jacob is such a catch, right? Do these people speak human? I glanced at the ones egging me on, then at Jacob, who said nothing. For words came to mind, birds of a feather. I regretted ever dating Jacob. It was like having stepped in literal *T, sorry I'm late. Suddenly, the door to the private room swung open, and a familiar voice followed. I turned my head toward it. It was? Oliver. Yes. Oliver. I shot up from my seat with a loud scrape. You came. You're here. Two voices overlapped, mine and the class president's. He turned to me, visibly surprised. You two know each other? So Oliver was his friend? That only confirmed my suspicion. In our past lives, Oliver and I must have shoveled manure together to be this fated now. I nodded, straight-faced. Yeah. He's my boyfriend. My eyes locked with Oliver's across the room. I gave him the most frantic wink of my life. He raised an eyebrow ever so slightly, surprise flickering in his gaze, then the corners of his mouth lifted into a meaningful smile. Yeah, he said smoothly. I'm her boyfriend. A hush fell over the whole room. For a few seconds, you could have heard a pin drop. It was the class president who broke the silence first. No way, seriously? When did this happen? Why didn't either of you tell me? I shrugged nonchalantly. We like to keep it low-key. The thrill of secrecy, you know? He fell silent. I turned my gaze to the group who'd been teasing me earlier and offered a sharp smile. You guys still think I'd be hung up on Jacob, now that I have this as my boyfriend? The looks on their faces, absolutely priceless. Especially Jacob, his expression dropped faster than a stock market crash. Angela was sitting beside me. The moment Oliver started walking over, she practically jumped out of her seat to give him space. Oliver slid into the seat next to me and leaned in to whisper, "So, which one's your ex?" Of course. Humanity's greatest instinct, gossip. Even he wasn't immune. I gave him a look. "Third from your left." We both looked over instinctively, only to find Jacob glaring at us, face dark with rage. Oliver gave a casual commentary, "Wow. You've got terrible taste." Honestly, I had no comeback. That was a fact. Then Susan chimed in, "Emily, how'd you get a new boyfriend so fast? You never said a word about it in the dorm." There it was again, that passive-aggressive tone of hers. Like she had the copyright on sarcasm. I let out a deliberate, dramatic sigh. I was scared, obviously. I lifted Oliver's hand and waved it around for everyone to see. "This one's too precious. I couldn't risk losing him." Everyone got the message. Their glances began subtly shifting in Susan's direction. Her face fell. She looked desperately to Jacob for support, but he pretended not to notice. She had no choice but to force a laugh. "Emily, come on, don't joke like that." But then Jacob spoke, voice cold. "How long have you two been together?" I was still deciding how long would sound believable when Oliver beat me to it. "You sure you want to know?" There was a glint of icy fury in Jacob's eyes. Oliver chuckled, unbothered. "In that case, I should really be thanking you. If you hadn't failed to cherish her, I'd never have gotten the chance. Isn't that right, senior?" At that moment, Oliver became my god. Everyone around us inhaled sharply, but no one wanted to interrupt the drama. Jacob's face turned an angry shade of gray, veins bulging on the hand gripping his glass. Just as it looked like he might explode, the class president jumped in to mediate. "Guys, anyone remember who's actually the birthday star today?" "I do." I stood up right away. "We're all gathered here today to celebrate our beloved friend and fearless class president's birthday. Come on, everyone, cheers." My phone vibrated under the table. "Angela, girl, I see you. Quiet on the surface, but you already bagged him." "Me, it's fake." "Angela, fake." "Angela, girl, relax. Leave it to your sister, fake will become real in no time." Then she stood up and made a suggestion. "Okay, enough eating and drinking. It's feeling a bit dry in here. Let's play spin the bottle, truth or dare. No lies, no skips." When the bottle pointed to Oliver, he chose dare. Angela whipped out her phone, pulled up a spin the wheel app, and set it down in front of him. "Go ahead. One tap. The rest is fate." "Fate, my foot. That little game?" Angela coded it herself. Every time there was a cute guy at a party she liked, she brought it out to randomly generate dares. Spoiler alert, nothing about it was random. It was pre-programmed. There were only a handful of options. And, sure enough, choose a girl in the room and kiss her for 3 minutes. Straight for the kill. Classic Angela. You could hear the anticipation bubbling in her voice. Her acting? Oscar-worthy in its obviousness. Why didn't she just shout my ID number at this point? If we were a real couple, this wouldn't be a big deal. But the truth was, we were only pretending. Even holding his hand earlier had made me self-conscious, now she wanted a full-on kiss? Oliver turned to face me, mouthing silently, "Do you mind?" I gave a nearly imperceptible shake of my head. Honestly, it was strange. We'd only met twice, yet I didn't feel the slightest bit uncomfortable with him. Maybe because both times, he'd saved me from complete social collapse. Or maybe, it was just that his face was way too hard to say no to. He leaned in and gently brushed a kiss against my lips, so soft, it felt like the flutter of a feather. A warm, tingling jolt ran through me. Just 1 second. But my heart missed a beat. Angela, of course, was not satisfied. No way. That wasn't 3 minutes. Oliver scratched his head with an embarrassed grin. "She's shy." "Excuse me? Who's shy?" I glanced at him, just in time to catch the faint blush climbing behind his ear. I wanted to scream, "Liar." Clang. A glass slammed onto the table. Jacob's face was stormy as he growled, "Can we move on to the next round now?" After the party, the class president went to settle the bill. Oliver, Angela, and I waited near the exit, trying to call a ride back. Just then, Jacob, who had already left, stormed back in and, without a word, punched Oliver square in the face. Oliver hadn't seen it coming. His head snapped to the side. Jacob's eyes were bloodshot. "I told you, every time I see you, I'll hit you." Before he could finish that sentence, Oliver swung back and landed a solid punch on his face. Jacob staggered, dazed, about to lunge again, but the class president rushed over and pinned him back. "Jacob, you're drunk. That's enough. I'll take you home." Angela glanced between me and Oliver, then quickly chimed in, "Yeah, Jacob's a handful." I don't think the class pres can manage alone. I'll go help. You two can grab another ride. She practically fled the scene. I borrowed some antiseptic from the front desk and began disinfecting the wound on Oliver's cheek. I couldn't stop myself from muttering, "Jacob's punches are no joke." Oliver smiled casually. Mine wasn't exactly gentle either. The dim lighting caught the glint in his eyes, tiny reflections like scattered stars. A few strands of hair hung over his forehead, slightly disheveled. His thick lashes quivered softly. Without realizing it, I started treating his wound more gently, guilt rising in my chest. "Sorry." Oliver opened his eyes and said calmly, "You weren't the one who hit me. Why are you apologizing?" I sighed. "If I hadn't asked you to pretend to be my boyfriend, this never would have happened." His eyes flickered slightly, and then a soft laugh escaped from his chest. "Then why not say you regret asking me for help on the train in the first place?" I fell silent. Ugh. All that drama, just to win one stupid argument. Oliver tilted his head and added, "And, how do you know I wasn't doing it willingly?" That night, I couldn't sleep. Tossing and turning in bed, my mind kept replaying that one line of his, "How do you know I wasn't doing it willingly?" Damn it. This was love, wasn't it? One sentence, and I was suffering already. The next morning, Angela took one look at me and gasped, "Emily, did you stay up all night memorizing memes again?" I shot back, rude. "I'm just a naturally gifted overthinker, okay?" My gaze wandered to her desk. Spotting the exam prep book she left out, my eyes lit up. "Angela, lend me your CET 6 materials." "You already passed CET 6. What do you need the workbook for? Cup noodle insulation." "It's not a workbook. It's the sacred key to romance." I opened my chat with Oliver and typed, "Have you passed CET 4 or CET 6 yet? If not, we could study together at the library." No. That sounded too much like I was looking for a study buddy. Even a dog would roll its eyes at that message. I deleted it, retyped, "The CET 6 exam is coming, and I haven't reviewed a thing. Did you pass? If not, want to study at the library together?" A woman's weakness is a man's soft spot. His status showed typing, then stopped. Then started again. Then stopped. My heart was bouncing with it. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he replied with one word, "Sure." "Excuse me? You took all that time, just to say sure?" Even my 80-year-old grandma types faster than that. "When?" I asked. "Up to you." He sent over his class schedule. I jumped up with excitement. "Then let's meet at the library entrance tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Don't be late." The next day, at the library, I stared at the CET 4 workbook on Oliver's desk, deep in thought. You don't look like someone who hasn't passed CET 4 yet. I mean, come on. At the very least, I thought he was a CET 6 guy." Oliver shrugged. "Yeah, I just look smart. Reality says otherwise." "Well, fair enough. No one gets to have everything in life." Then his gaze suddenly stopped on something. I followed his line of sight, and saw that the exam book I'd just pulled out had "Angela" written in bold marker on the front cover. Damn it. That girl hadn't studied a single page of it, but she made sure her name was front and center. I gave an awkward laugh. "Oh, that's my roommate's. She passed last semester, so she gave it to me. You know, recycling paper, saving the trees, starting with the little things. Right?" Sometimes I truly amazed myself with how shamelessly I could lie while looking perfectly innocent. Oliver gave a crooked smile. "I see. Well then, on behalf of the trees, thank you. That really wasn't necessary, but okay." I looked at the reading comprehension in front of me and started guessing randomly, A, B, C, D, whatever. Not like I was here to actually study. The goal was to look like I was studying. I stole a glance across the table at Oliver. One hand propped up his head, the other twirling his pen lazily. He didn't look very studious either. Clack. His pen fell from his fingers. He didn't move for a moment, but the corners of his mouth lifted faintly. Then, he looked up at me. I didn't have time to look away. Our eyes met, caught in the act. Oliver raised an eyebrow. "Emily, are you trying to find answers on my face, or a translation?" Crap. Busted. I braced myself. I was just tired. Needed to look at something pleasing to stay motivated. Except you stared at me longer than you stared at the reading passage. Later, in class, I sent him another message. There are two most radiant things in this world, the sun, and students who work hard. We already have the sun today, now we just need two diligent learners. Oliver, wanna hit the library together? He didn't respond. Which was strange. He usually replied instantly. Had studying these past few days worn him out? Or was it me? Did I do something that gave him the ick? I spent the whole class seriously self-reflecting, and the more I thought, the worse I felt. Ambiguity really is an emotional torture chamber. But just as quickly, the gloom passed, my phone buzzed. Oliver's message popped up, just had a pop quiz. Wasn't checking my phone. It's over now. I'm waiting outside your classroom. Outside? I looked toward the door. Oliver was leaning casually against the railing. When he noticed me, he gave a lazy smirk and raised an eyebrow. From the back row, whispers started spreading. Isn't that Oliver from the computer science department? He's so handsome. Who's he waiting for? Probably Emily. I heard he and Jacob fought over her. So jealous. When will I get two hot guys fighting over me? In your dreams. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how rumors are born. Seriously, way too exaggerated. Jacob didn't fight over me. He was just throwing a tantrum over his wounded male ego. Still, knowing Oliver was waiting outside, I couldn't help glancing his way again and again. Emily. My teacher suddenly called my name. I know I'm not as good-looking as your boyfriend, but while he'll be around after class. I won't. So focus while you still have me. The whole class erupted in laughter. My face turned beet red. The commotion was loud enough that Oliver heard it from the hallway. He scratched his head in embarrassment, bowed toward the teacher from outside the door, and said, "Sorry, sir. Didn't mean to interrupt." Then he slipped away quickly. A moment later, a new message popped up, "Send me the notes after class." I looked at the screen, unable to hold back a smile. Angela immediately leaned over. "Spill it. How far have you two gotten?" I thought for a second, then replied, "We've progressed from reading comprehension to translation exercises." Angela looked like she was going to flip the teacher's desk over. "You two are middle schoolers or what? Who goes to the library to flirt?" I corrected her. "We're not even dating." Her eye roll could have swept the entire classroom. "So let me get this straight, you're sitting across from a tall, handsome, single guy every day, and you're not dating? Are you a ninja?" I seriously considered her words. And realized, she had a very valid point. So, a few days before New Year's Eve, I took the initiative. I messaged Oliver, "Any plans for New Year's?" He shot back, "What do you want to do? Grab dinner?" "Just dinner?" I stared at him, scandalized. "What else do you have in mind?" Oliver gave a helpless laugh. "What are you thinking?" "I just meant, do you want to watch a movie after dinner?" "Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. Hee hee." And just like that, my face turned hot. I might have overthought a little. New Year's Eve. Everyone in the dorm had their own plans, bustling about, except for Susan. She was on the balcony, arguing with Jacob over the phone. Their voices grew more intense with each word. "Jacob, it's New Year's Eve. You're ditching your girlfriend to spend it with your friends? Why can't I come to the bar with you? Who are these friends? Female ones, right? You think I don't know what you've been up to? Jacob, you're disgusting." With a final yell, Susan slammed the call shut. Angela and I exchanged a silent glance but said nothing. When Susan came back in, her eyes were rimmed red, she had clearly been crying. As she passed behind me, she paused and snapped, "Emily, seeing me like this, are you feeling real smug inside?" "Yes," I replied honestly. That threw her off. She looked stunned. But I didn't have time to entertain her, I was on my way to meet Oliver. Just as I reached the door, though, I paused, turned back, and said, "Susan, when Jacob was with me, he said I wasn't as gentle or thoughtful as you. Now that he's with you, he'll say you're not as lively or sexy as someone else. The truth is, Jacob's just a bad person. So don't doubt yourself. Don't tear yourself apart for him. Cut your losses while you still can." As I left, Susan was still standing there, speechless. This wasn't some saintly act on my part. Truthfully, outside of the whole Jacob thing, Susan had never treated me that badly. When I had cramps, she made me brown sugar ginger tea. She helped me fight for concert tickets online. People are complicated, no one's all good or all bad. We were supposed to meet at 6 p.m. at the school gate. But Oliver didn't show up until 6:30, rushing toward me in a panic. I had long run out of patience. Sorry. I was checking myself in the mirror and realized my hair had gotten too long. I figured today was an important day, so I went for a trim. But I seriously didn't expect there'd be so many last-minute guys just like me. I was stuck in line forever. His voice trailed off by the end. No wonder his hairstyle looked different. The bangs at the front had been snipped into short, wispy layers, framing his features more sharply than before. And with the outfit he wore today, he looked every bit the clean, handsome college heartthrob. Seeing me remain silent, he anxiously added, "Emily, please don't be mad. I swear, I'll never be late again." I wasn't mad. I was just thinking about what he'd said earlier, today is an important day. Was it important, because he was spending it with me? Besides, how could I possibly stay angry at that face? Traffic on New Year's Eve was unbearable. Cars crawled along the road, and just a few hundred meters from our destination, we decided to get out and walk. Winter winds swept up dry leaves from the ground. A chill shook me, and I shivered instinctively. Without a word, Oliver took off his coat and draped it over my shoulders. Warmth enveloped me instantly. Nothing like a good old Canada Goose jacket. I glanced at him, now only wearing a hoodie, and asked with concern, "Aren't you cold?" He shook his head. "Guess why I wore such a thick coat today? For this moment." I couldn't help but laugh. "Oliver, you're such a dork." Then I noticed a tiny strand of hair clinging to the tip of his nose. "Hold still. Don't move." Oliver obediently froze, even his eyes locked onto mine. I reached up to brush it away. As I did, his breath hit the back of my hand, warm and tingly. It made me think of that kiss during our game of truth or dare. And before I knew it, the words were out of my mouth, "Oliver, let's date." His face instantly exploded into a kaleidoscope of colors, shocked, flustered, at a loss for words. Was that how a normal person reacted to a confession? My heart sank. "Wait. Oliver, are you about to reject me?" "No, Nope. Not letting you finish that sentence." Before he could explain, he suddenly grabbed my hand, and slid both our hands into his coat pocket. My fingers brushed something square and firm. Oliver let out a helpless, affectionate laugh. I had it all planned. I was going to confess at midnight, right when the new year started. He sighed softly. "Emily, you're too impatient. Something like this should have been my line." Inside the coat pocket, his hand tightened around mine. I could feel my cheeks flush with heat, and my heart pounding in my chest. So that's why today was important to him. I pulled a small box from his pocket and opened it. Inside was a necklace. "You picked this yourself?" I asked. "Yeah," he said nervously. Is it not your style? You don't like it?" "No, it's just. I kind of had PTSD from necklaces." "No. I really like it." I took off the scarf around my neck. "Oliver, can you help me put it on?" "Of course." He cupped the necklace in his palm, warming it with his breath before gently fastening it behind my neck. His arms circled around me, warm fingers brushing against the cool metal. And behind him, fireworks bloomed across the inky sky. Beautiful and bright. Love and light, both arrived a little early tonight.